Oh boy, gotta change everything. Yo, if anybody's in here, can you guys tell me if you can hear me or not? Because I don't know how it sounds. All right. Anyways, I didn't really have any content planned today, but tomorrow I do. So I thought it'd be pretty fun if I ranked like every raid ever on a tier list. I have like a sort of system that I wanna go by, I guess. Let me see. Okay, so now that I have like the thumbnail and whatever done for the stream, I guess uh maybe we could start with like Vault of Glass. Maybe, by the way, you can like you guys can join in on this too. You know, give me your opinions or whatever. But yeah. I guess like first things first. Yeah, I want to start with like Destiny One Vault of Glass. This is one of the ones I've never played. Like, let me see, between like Vault, Crota's End, Wrath of the Machine, and like D1 King's Fall. Like those are the ones that I've never actually played in D1. Like I wasn't there for the actual release of them. I came like I came like after Wrath of the Machine, I think, or no, like a little bit after D2 launch. I started playing D1. Let me see. I guess like Vault of Glass though, knowing like the I guess significance of it, because apparently this was one of the raids that, or the raid that kind of set Destiny apart from the rest of like looter shooters, or you get what I'm saying. Like it was kind of like different in that way. Um, so I guess I'd put it just because of its significance. I want to put it like at B tier, like high B, or actually, you know what? Yeah, I guess like we'll put it B tier for now because we don't have any other raids to really specify which part at each letter. So I think yeah, Evolved Glass at like B tier would be pretty good. Because like when we really think about it though, right? Fatebringer is probably one of the best hand cannons in the game right now, and probably was one of the best hand cannons back then too. Um, and Vex Mythic Class too. Like we taking into consideration like the loot and the raid exotics and the armor and stuff. That like Helm of Kabir, like that whole thing with the Titan, that's probably like I want to say one of the most popular Titan helmets. Probably still is too. So yeah, Volt is probably like a really good B tier raid. Yo, it's good Templar. Oh yeah, and that's another thing too. Templar is a pretty good boss. Um, so yeah, I think I put this at B tier. What was the next raid? It was like Crota's End, right? No, I mean, if we're really honest, Crota's End was good at first, because from the stuff that I've seen, obviously it was like memed on a lot, a whole bunch. But it started all like just around the same kind of like level as Vault of Glass. It's just that the, the game kept getting like broken and abused in this raid. All the cheeses and stuff that's for these encounters, like every encounter too. It's not just like the boss encounter. It was like it was the whole thing. The whole raid was busted. You could abuse it any way you wanted to, right? And from my I guess perspective or from what I know, there was only like a couple of patches that really I guess took away the advantage that came from doing Crotazen cheeses. Um, so I want to say I'm not gonna say F because the lore is something that I'm trying to take into account too. Like the Hive lore is pretty fucking interesting. I really like the Crotazen lore, but at the same time, like it did set up something that was like better than every other Destiny one DLC, in my opinion. I'd say like I'd say like mid, nah, like low C tier. Corazon was like low C tier raid, I think. Just because like I don't want to put it at F because F is like absolutely shit. Like this right here trash right here. But at the same time, I feel like not every well, nah, yeah, Eater of World is pretty shit. I'm not gonna lie. That's probably gonna be our first one in F. Uh, Besides that though, yeah, Crota's End is like low C tier. I'd say. No, like I mean like King's Fall, I think is the next one, right? Yeah, King's Fall after this, because then it was House of Wolves and then Taken King. So yeah, King's Fall is probably one of the best raids, or would have been one of the best raids at the time. It was, I guess, in D1, right? Like Taken King, awesome expansion, right? Very revolutionary for the game. About a lot of new stuff, new enemy species that would obviously get reused again and again and again. But at the time it was very new. So I'd say like yeah, King's Fall, like A would be like a really good spot, right? Or would that be too low? I don't think A would be too low because let me see like the weapons and stuff. Like the pulse rifle. I think that was like Duma Chelchis. It okay. Look, if I'm honest, like the raid weapons they looked amazing, but I'd say that they're like mid. Even like now, right? In current D2, just because the raid weapons are craftable, that's probably what puts D2's version of Kingsfall over D1. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure they changed like a mechanic with the boss room. Maybe made it a little bit challenging because if that was the case, they wouldn't have gotten it in multiple attempts for the day one raid for D2. I'd say like King's Fall D1 would be like it's definitely above Vault of Glass. I'll say that. Like high A, low S. I could see an argument for low S, considering everything, especially considering like what was happening at the time, right? Um, because like I said, like King's Fall and that whole DLC where it comes from, it just King's Fall was like the cherry on top. You get what I'm saying? It was still a really good raid, but I mean I'll tell you this, man. Like if I was playing back then, I'd say it was probably like a little bit below Forsaken level in terms of like saving the game. So that's why I probably put it above Vault of Glass just because of that. Um, and then finally, right, I get to talk about a Fallen raid, right? One thing about me, I love the Fallen. That's like my favorite enemy species. Besides, like, well, actually no, because the Hive would be second for me, right? So Wrath of the Machine. I don't want to like be too biased though. Wrath of the Machine was kind of fucking fire. Like if we're really being serious though, that was fire, right? So and especially right, I love Siva. I love Siva too. It's like they took my two favorite things and just kind of like, you get what I'm saying? Exactly, Sean. Right? Like Wrath of the Machine would be like, it has to be S tier, or at least very high, like right up there with King's Fall, if not better. Vostok is an amazing boss, right? They gave us like a sort of new enemy race to kill, sort of. You know what I'm saying? Like that was like really cool. Um, that whole DLC, bro, like it was literally about to be like, I think they only had like a couple of people working on the whole thing, and they pulled off a raid this good. So it's like I gotta I gotta put it at S tier, man. That's probably our first and probably only S tier. I'm speaking too soon. It might be some bias. It might be some bias. So I'm just gonna say that it might be some bias. However, however, Wrath of the Machine, like regarding this and like the weapons, one of my favorite ones I think was I think what was it, Chaos Dogma, I think was one of the weapons. Uh, the scout rifle, whatever the scout rifle was, I really liked the scout rifle from when I was watching other people's videos at the time, because at the time I wasn't really on Destiny like that, and I couldn't really play raids or anything. It took me it took me years to do Vault of Glass. It took me till D2 to do actual Vault of Glass. Right? Like I didn't really do raids like that, if at all. So I never really knew the encounters or anything like that. So yeah, man, like if somebody can if somebody can definitively say, without even having played a raid, that this is number one, then I mean, like, that's it right there. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a good eye. But I guess excluding that, right? We have D2. I don't know if I should do like Leviathan first or do Vault of Glass again. Nah, I'm gonna go in order. Okay, I'm gonna go in order. Yeah, Leviathan, right? OG Leviathan was fire. I'll say that right now. That's like an instant A tier raid. And being introduced to Callus, being able to fight on an actual planet eater, like, bro, that was fire. And it kind of left like the ending boss, Callus, right? It left us on like a cliffhanger, I'd say, because it's like we don't know where the real Callus is. It was just a robot we were fighting, and then we fought, or we saw at the bottom of the Leviathan after we defeated the one Callus. That was like hundreds of other Callus robots just ready. You know what I'm saying? Like in reserve. It low-key made me think I was about to go into a second encounter. Right? So I mean, like, as for raid bosses, Callus is like Callus is alright. He's not bad. But the raid as a whole, the fact that like the Leviathan itself, it didn't just stop with the raid. We had a bunch of other stuff that we could do in the Leviathan. I'm pretty sure like part of like the Izanagi quest, Izanagi's burden quest happened in the Leviathan. I'm pretty sure. Uh, but yeah, very very interesting lore as well. And the weapons, Midnight Coup, bro. What? Yeah, yeah. I'd say it's like a, I want to say like high B or A tier. Maybe right up there with King's Fall, right? Like, is that too crazy to say? King's Fall and Leviathan in the same spot? Because like right now we definitely are staying away from D and F, right? Especially when talking about Leviathan. C tier, if you give me a good argument for it, I would be able to see. Let me see, like, yeah, I guess we'll put like King's Fall and Leviathan in the same one. All right, but then we get to Spire of Stars, I believe. Yeah, Spire. It was Spire of Stars and Eater of Worlds, because that was the Curse of Osiris, and then War Mine raid layers, right? Any raid layer, in my opinion, is kind of like instant C tier. Maybe even, I guess, like as far as Eater of Worlds goes, might be our first F. But we'll get to that in a second. Like Spire of Stars, man. With it being like the first raid layer, it was the hardest. It was probably like the hardest raid. I'll give it that. It took teams a while to beat this one. That boss was challenging, very challenging, especially for the world's first team. I believe Esoteric, his team, and Redeem, if I'm not mistaken, was like neck and neck, and I'm pretty sure Esoteric would have gotten it had something not happened. I think what happened? What happened to Esoteric? It was like he was like a couple of minutes off. Like he was very close to getting it, but Redeem eked past him. So I'd say like Spire of Stars. As for like competitively, world's first, it was probably like one of the better moments in world's first history. But it's nowhere still not near like the A tier, like where King's Fall and like Leviathan were, or especially not King's Fall. King's Fall was like, Professor Broman. He was like, bro was geeked out when he got world's first. Him and his clan. That was a really special moment. But and say like Spire of Stars would probably be like C, and I'm only putting it like at C tier just because of how competitive it was, right? It's not because of the loot, it's not because of the story, it's not because of anything like that, right? Because all that stuff wasn't really interesting, in my opinion. It's just that purely for like the competitive side of things, I'll put it on the same level as Crota. I'm not saying that Crota was like a really really competitive raid, but it was like the second uh, Destiny 2 raid, right? Which kind of was carrying off the tradition of putting Destiny like apart from other shooters that were similar, right? Or even other shooters just in general, right? Because we have raids, you don't, right? We have strikes, you probably do, but ours are more interesting. It was kind of like carrying off that kind of like tradition, so that's why I put it like on the same on the C tier. But yeah, Spire of Stars is probably like on the same level, I'd say. Eater Worlds, we already know that's hot dookie. They shouldn't have made that one. They shouldn't have made that one. It was bad. It was a cool location, I'd say. That's the only thing I'll say. But the boss is boring. Absolutely boring. Um. So yeah, Yeah, and I just can't really see myself putting it past F. If you give me a good argument, maybe D. But yeah, that's like our that's like our quickest explanation for that one. Um, what was after Eater of Worlds? It was Curse of Osiris, Warmind, and Forsaken. Last Wish. Last Wish, I think. Yeah. Um, here's the thing with Last Wish. I feel like this might be a hot take, but it's kind of like it doesn't really sit as high as it would for some other people. Some people have Last Wish at S tier, but at the same time, I'll say this: high B, mid A, and it's only because it was just like a long raid. For some encounters, it just kind of like dragged on for me. Um, However, competitively, this shit was it. You know what I'm saying? This shit was it, right? Uh, it sucks for Dado that he kind of got cucked at the last like 2 minutes. I think he was 2 minutes off, like after the 24 hours, right? What's the meme? It's like 24:02 or something like that. So he came second place. Uh, Hilarious meme actually. But as for like the story and stuff that Last Wish kind of like bought with it, as well as the rest, like the location that it lay itself, right? The location itself, the Dreaming City, right? Where this raid took place, I feel like is a really beautiful destination. The raid weapons, now that they're craftable, um, honestly, some of the best weapons in the game. Nation of Beasts, you guys know how I feel about that, right? Like Dragonfly, right? Volt Shot, oh my god. One of the best ad clearing hand cannons in the game. I love it. Tyranny of Heaven's really good too if you get the right perks on it. Um, and of course Apex Predator, bro. Come on, we love those rocket launchers. Um, I feel like Age Old Bond is pretty decent. I don't use it though. I have it crafted or craftable. But then we have like the Scout Rifle and the Pulse Rifle. Amazing, amazing with the reworks too. They were pretty good before, or at least the Chattering Bone was. But now that both of them have the rework, yeah, kinetic trimmers can roll on both of them. They're monster weapons. Yo, Cola, what's good, bro? I finally got this damn live stream to work, bro. It's about time. But but yeah, I feel like Last Wish is probably like B to A tier. Riven was a really cool boss. Riven was a really cool boss. Um, would I say Oryx level? Let me see. Like, I mean, we haven't really seen cars before, so like, uh, Oryx wasn't our first hive god, but he was our first pillar hive god that we've seen. This is really hard. This is really hard. I don't know. I don't know where to put Last Wish. Last Wish. I don't know. I don't know, man. I'll put it at A, and that's kind of like that's kind of saying something for Leviathan. I'd say like that's a good flex for Leviathan. If I'm putting Last Wish and Leviathan in the same category as for raids go, like that means that I'm putting Callus at the same level as Riven. I'm putting Midnight Coup at the same level as Nation of Beasts, which in all actuality it probably was. Like if we remember how popular Midnight Coup was, Rampage Outlaw was going crazy back then in year one. So I mean like and it was like that for a little while. I'd say up until year two, right? Like year two was like when Midnight Coup probably started to get used less and less. This is when I started to see it less and less. I got my hands on it then, but then I stopped using it because of like other weapons, like because at the time Last Wish had came out, Ether Doctor was a thing, and so I was just using that. How many people remember Ether Doctor? Damn. Um, but But yeah, man, like it was other primaries that kind of just outcompeted Midnight Coop, and crafting wasn't a thing at the time, so it was no reason for the Leviathan or any other raid for that matter to get re-rolls of their original perks, right? So it didn't really make too much sense. Yeah, around Beyond Light, right? Yeah, so it was like around like yeah Beyond Light time is when you would see it like kind of go extinct, and now people only really use it just to meme. All right, so Last Wish is pretty good. If you give me an argument like a really good one, I could see it at S tier. I could see it at S tier. Like I said before, some people have it at S tier. It's just like for me, what's keeping it from S tier is just that I don't really like the whole like Awoken, Queen's Guard, kind of Marasov seasons and stuff like that. Like it was cool in Forsaken, I guess. I wasn't really feeling it too much, but as for like when we're talking about like cool raids, right? We're talking about like Fallen, Hive, Cabal. Those are the cool guys, right? When we talk about like Marasov and shit, like it, I don't know, just kind of lame. The Awoken are kind of whack, bro. I'm not gonna lie. That's probably a hot take, but I mean, I've just never really resonated with any of that. So I was just about to say that too. Look. I mean, Deepstone Crypt. Look, man. Hold on. You know what? I'm still going in order. I'm gonna get to that one. I'm gonna get to that one in a bit. But I got some opinions for Deepstone Crypt because that one's like really good. Uh, what was after Last Wish? It was no. Was it Crown of Sorrow? Yeah, it was Crown of Sorrow. Okay. Yeah. Crown of Sorrow. Uh, let me see. Let me try to remember this raid. It's crazy that I have to say that, but I thought it was okay. I thought it was okay. Like the first encounter went on too long. Even if you were doing it right, it still went on too long. Uh, the loot, the loot, you'd say B tier. Yeah, I mean like okay, hold on. Well, like let me see like the loot and stuff, right? As for armor sets, which is another reason why I have King's Fall and Wrath of the Machine so high, right? Besides the points I've mentioned, the armor sets for both raids are awesome, and both for King's Fall, right, for D1 and D2, they're awesome. But Crown of Sorrow, right? Back to Crown of Sorrow. I'd say Crown of Sorrow has like an amazing armor set. The raid exotic is pretty good, but the weapons in general, ass. They look ass too. Like the perks were all right. I think the shotgun could get overflow on it or 1-2 punch. I remember you could get 1-2 punch on it. But other than that, there was nothing really for the weapons at least that you would want to go after. You would only like I would only do the raid for the armor, and that was specifically for Titan. Titans had the best armor set that raid, right? Like I forget what it's called, the Shadows armor set or something like that. The helmet, the chest piece, it goes so well with a lot of shaders. Sometimes you'll even see me rocking that end game, right? Still to this day, and this is how many seasons later, right? Like if an armor set can stand the test of time, and the amount of shaders that Destiny has put in the game since then, since its release, yeah, man, like you have a good armor set. It looks dope too. For most of the like of the classes, in my opinion. But Titans definitely took the dub on that one. Yeah, where Cola's a he's a Eyes of Tomorrow simp. Let me see. Um, what was after Crown of Sorrow? This is where my memory gets fuzzy. Was it Scourge of the Past? No. Oh, I'm dumb. I'm dumb. Scourge of the Past was before Crown of Sorrow. Damn. All right. I guess we'll do Scourge of the Past now. Yeah, I should have done it because it was Last Wish, and Forsaken. I forgot we got raids in back to back seasons. So it was like Last Wish, Scourge, and then Crown because it was season of the Outlaw. I think that was what Forsaken was called. Then it was season of the Forge, and then a season of I forgot what the season was called. I remember it was redacted. That was like the first redacted season. So yeah, I guess we'll just do Scourge of the Past, right? Scourge of the Past was pretty good. However, I'd say the armor set was lacking for all classes. Threat detector or not threat detector, threat level, awesome shotgun, amazing shotgun. That's when trench barrel was still really good. I think, yeah, because everybody was going after that gun when it first came out, including me. So I was like, yeah, if I could do some like real good damage to some bosses, right? This is what everybody was rocking, right? Although like players that wanted to do some good shit, some good damage, this is what they were rocking, like the threat level. Um, and they also had Anarchy too. Anarchy is a really good grenade launcher. However, it's kind of slept on now. But you guys, I know you guys remember when grenade launchers were going crazy back in what was that? Was that season of the Splicer when Breach and Clear was a thing? That artifact mod that made you do extra damage with grenade launchers. Because yeah, season of the Splicer, right? So yeah, this is like this is the raid that you got it from, right? And what was the boss? It was a brig. That was like our first ever time seeing a brig in game. The mechanics were really cool. Um, for the boss room, and I feel like whenever you get to see more of the city, right, the city that you protect, and the city that you see so often in the distance at the tower, instead of just being in the tower, you get to be in the city and do a raid. That's awesome. That was awesome, right? I got to see a bunch of stuff that I've never got to see before. The Schnell building, right? It's one of the staples of this area. Awesome. So I'd say a quick B tier, right? Maybe over Crown of Sorrow. The armor, well, the weapons were better, and the encounters were better. If I'm honest, Crown of Sorrow was pretty quick. So I'd say like in front of Crown of Sorrow for sure. So like mid B tier. I feel like it could rest comfortably in mid B tier. It wouldn't be that bad. Um, Let me see. After this it was Garden, right? So after these three, it was Garden. I hate Garden. I hate Garden of Salvation, bro. If it's one race that I hate the most, this wow, that sounds terrible. That sounds terrible. If it's one Destiny race that I hate the most, uh, the Vex is definitely up there. I just don't really find them too interesting. It's just their raids. I mean, like the Vault of Glass is iconic. I love the Vault of Glass. It's cool. That's the only good Vex raid. But the boss for Garden of Salvation, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. It's just I don't like the mechanics where you have to tether to make him vulnerable so you can do damage and shit. It was just I don't know. And then like you have like the plates disappearing, so you're in that Vex come and it starts like messing with you, bro. It's like I don't like it. C tier. That's the thing though. I don't know. Like I'm I feel like it might be our first D tier raid, right? Like Shadowkeep. I think this was a Shadowkeep raid, right? Yeah, this was a Shadowkeep raid, which is insane, right? When we think about it, right? We got Last Wish, Scourge of the Past, Crown of the Sorrow, and then Garden of Salvation, like back to back to back to back. Like that's insane. Like if we're really honest, that's crazy. It does. Divinity does make it worth it. The raid exotic makes it worth it. It's just the quest is like fucking annoying. That quest is annoying. Everything about this raid is annoying. I hate this raid. The weapons were alright though. The weapons were okay. Like the legendary ones. They were okay. The My favorite one was pulse rifle. Sacred Providence. I'd say if like Garden of Salvation would be worth doing in 2023 if the weapons got revamped, just like how Last Wish, just like Last Wish did. All right, if we have Sacred Providence like kinetic tremors, what? That would be insane. I actually do want to go after Sacred Providence again. But the fact that Garden of Salvation for me is like so dreadful. Ugh. I just can't, man. I can't. That's our first D tier raid, man. I've yet to meet somebody who has Garden of Salvation above C tier. I literally know nobody that puts this raid above like where or on the same place as like Last Wish, Leviathan, King's Fall, Wrath of the Machine, right? Like, cause it wasn't that good. D or mid C tier would be fitting, I'd say, for Garden of Salvation. What was after this one? We didn't get a raid for a while, right? Because this was a reprise, Lightfall, Witch Queen. So then yeah, it was Deepstone Crypt. Okay, Deepstone Crypt might be one of my favorite Fallen raids of all time. Or just my favorite raid in general. I just recently got the seal for it, and it was my first raid seal ever. Right, this raid has like a very special place in my heart. I love the encounters. I love the mechanics. Right, I think it's so cool that we've heard about a place for a while, right, in the lore, and we finally get to visit that place in game and see where all the exos were made. Right, birthplace of the exos. So many secrets too, right? Like you could like literally get lost in this place, and in the skybox, right, you just see Jupiter right there, or not Jupiter, Saturn right there. Honestly, it's fire, man. It's a fire raid. I don't know, I wouldn't mind running it like 3 times a week per character just to get the exotic, right? The exotic is really good for ad clear too, especially now because it got a rework in its perk, which allows, I think you once you hit like 4 targets and kill them with the rockets, it refunds your magazine out of thin air. I'm pretty sure, so it doesn't take it out of your reserves, and you can shoot again. Awesome. All right, like it's awesome. I'd say like the Fallen have the best content in Destiny. That might be a hot take right there. The Fallen have the best content in the game, in my opinion. We have Devil's Lair. Oh my god, bro. Devil's Lair is my shit. And it's solely because of the fact that we have the best soundtrack in the boss room, probably of any raid or any strike. I'll die on that hill. Devil's Lair has the best soundtrack of any boss in Destiny, raid or strike included. Oh, you get 50% more damage with that for the Damn, yeah. So I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like it's a really good tool to use, right? Like As of Tomorrow is really good. It's awesome. It's so awesome, in fact, that whenever Cole was talking about it, he literally made me go get more more attempts in, because I was like, you know what, I want it. He's talking to me about it, how it's gonna get a buff and stuff. This is before it happened, right? And I was like, you know what, fuck, man, I gotta go get it. If a weapon can make you like from its perk, just say that man, I gotta go get that. That's an awesome exotic. That's a really good exotic, right? The weapons were really cool too. Probably the best looking weapons in the game. That blue, black, and white design. I mean color scheme, right? Like that's a really good color scheme, right? And the armor wasn't terrible. Could have been better for the Titan. The Titan looks like fucking smashed it in the face with a big frying pan. It looks ugly. The Titan's armor looks ugly. The Hunter's armor terrible. The Warlock's robe is probably the best armor piece from that raid. Um, so Eyes of Tomorrow is strong. American Combustion is scary good with it. I'd say so. I'd say so for sure. I just wish the Eyes of Tomorrow would be like I don't know more of a damage weapon. It would be pretty cool. It would be pretty wacky to see this honestly, if each individual rocket worked with Wolfpack rounds. So you just saw a shit ton of Wolfpack rounds spawn after you hit a target with Eyes of Tomorrow. That would be insane. That would be actually crazy. I wonder how much damage I would do. Like if there was no reduction in damage. Yeah, it claps champions. Oh yeah, for sure, claps champions. The boss Tanix. What was I gonna say? Yeah, yeah. Or no, no. Let me go through the armor and weapons. Right. So the weapons were really cool. Commemoration is like the best weapon from that raid. Posterity is pretty good too. However, I'd say one of my favorite weapons from there is the scout rifle. I love 260s. When we're talking about scout rifles, anything else is kind of like mid for me. Um, but yeah, I really like it. I like the fact that you can craft every weapon as well. Um, and heritage is really good too. That's probably like the best slug, legendary slug in the game. If I'm being for real, like there's not like much comp with it anyways. You have like your good bone structures and whatever, but I feel like heritage is probably eking out just a little bit past it in terms of like a good slug. So I want to say Deepstone Crypt is definitely above Leviathan, but we'll say behind like nah, I don't want to say behind Last Wish. Behind King's Fall? Let me think about this. Because we're saying behind King's Fall, we're saying that Deepstone Crypt is on the same level uh as this, as King's Fall, right? 10x is on the same level of difficulty as Oryx. 10x is on the same level as of intrigue as Oryx, right? The raid loot from both raids are on the same level. I guess that's what we're saying when we put this on the same tier. I forgot about Deepstone Lullaby, right? Deepstone Lullaby was amazing for some people, right? A lot of people love it. And the line, I don't know if you guys even notice this or remember this, but it's probably one of my favorite parts of the raid, right? It's the part where we're going from the second encounter. No, yeah. The second encounter to the third encounter, Descent, right? That's the encounter where you're falling from space down back to Europa. In between that encounter, Clovis, the AI Clovis, he's telling us that we're facing godlike judgment. Bro, that line, fire. That's a fire ass line, bro. You now face godlike judgment. May it extend eternally. What? What? That's fire. That's actually kind of crazy. Right? So I feel like I'm really trying not to be biased, right? Just because it's a fallen raid. I'm trying not to. We'll put Leviathan behind Last Wish. That's like, now that we have this in the mix, this is like low A tier. It's not gonna touch B. I'll say that it's not gonna touch B, because it is a good braid, right? It's above the B tier for a reason. But I'll say this: for lore, weapons, armor, well, not really armor, lore, weapons, uh, scenery, and pretty much any other like boss, right? I mean, I know if it's like we're fighting Tanix for like the 15,000th time, but he does look different. He does have different mechanics or whatever. And just like generally everything in this raid, every category that you can like really name, except for the armor, it might beat out Last Wish. I mean not Last Wish. It might beat out King's Fall. It might just have to be like top of A tier, right? It might even be touching S tier with Wrath of the Machine. Clovis is cold as fuck, bro. Yo, beats. I'm saying this though, right? Like Deep Stone Crypt, it's like that, man. If we're really thinking about it in relation to all of these raids, Deep Stone Crypt, with the time it took to like actually make the season that it came from, right? Because you gotta think, right? This is 2020. We're in the pandemic. Bungie's doing the best they can. They're cooking. They're cooking. They're trying, right? They're trying not to burn down the damn kitchen. They're trying, and I gotta respect that. I gotta respect that. It's reminiscent of what happened with Wrath of the Machine and uh uh Iron, fucking Season of the Iron. No, that's not what it's called. Let me shut my dumb ass up. It was a season of what the fuck was it called? Rise of Iron. Damn. You said Val was S for sure. We'll get to it. We'll get to it. We'll get to it. We'll see. We'll see. Let me see though. Deep Snow Crypt, and then it was it Vow of the Machine? What the fuck? Vow of the Disciple after, or was it Reprise raids after? Because it was Beyond Light, and then season Witch Queen, right? Because we didn't get a raid until Witch Queen, and then after Witch Queen came out, then there was the Reprise raids, right? Vol came out in Beyond Light. I'm ranking this off of like lore, armor and weapons, and like general look of the raid, right? So like if it, like the scenery of the raid, I mean, this is like where it took place, and I'm also taking into account like the season that it came from, right? So Spire of the Stars and Eater of Worlds are so low because Warmind and Forsaken, not Forsaken, Warmind and Curse of Osiris was like ass, right? They shouldn't have made Eater of Worlds, in my opinion. So that's why I have like F tier. F tier is like you shouldn't have done this. You said D2 Vlog is very mid. I mean, I'd have to hear you out on that though. Like if you could make like a good argument, I might be able to see your point. But like for the reasons of it being the raid that literally set Destiny apart from every other shooter at the time, as well as like the loot and encounters that was introduced in this raid. That's why I have it so high in B tier. Like it's damn near touching A. That's what I'm saying. Last Wish in A is crazy, but I mean, I'd say it's on this level because number one, like the competition at the time, right? It was only two teams that made it past the 24-hour mark, right? On top of that, we have good weapons, decently looking armor, and like the story of the Dreaming City and Riven as a boss. I mean, come on, you know, like it has to be like high up there. Some people have this as S, but I'm saying like Deep Stone Crypt and King's Fall from D1 better than it, in my opinion, because this is like mid A. Last Wish. I forgot about Mythic Glass too. So yeah, that's why it's like B tier. Even though Mythic Glass was like a really good weapon back in D1 when it was first released, and everybody was clapping in Crucible, or not? Everybody was getting clapped. My bad. Everybody was getting ran through. So I'd say like, yeah, Deepstone Crypt, high A, damn near touching S, but still not on Wrath of the Machines level. But it's up there though. It's up there. Um, nah, Wrath isn't just up there for nostalgia. Definitely not. It's like the armor, the weapons, story. Like it's better than, in my opinion. And like I said before, because you weren't here like before when I said this, but I might be a little bit biased because I like Fallen. I like the Fallen. That's like my favorite species. But I'm just saying, like, as for if I'm trying not to be biased, I feel like it's S tier, man. I'm trying my hardest, bro. I'm trying not to be biased. The Fallen got a grip on me. Wait, pause on that. I'm just saying, like they got a chokehold on me. You know what I'm saying? I feel like it's not bad though to put Wrath of the Machine in S tier. Like if we're because if you think if we really think about it though, right? Because nobody was really working on Wrath of the Machine. I like the story is like a lot of the team went to into developing D2. So Wrath of the Machine in that whole season wasn't even really supposed to come out. They was all supposed to be working on something else, right? They just didn't want us to have a while until D2's launch. Vosik is an amazing boss too. Vosik is an awesome boss. Siva and having this like whole raid be around Siva, right? And us having like a newish species to kind of like shoot at, right? Like I mean, we got a lot of interesting lore from it too. So that's what I'm saying. Zamboni encounter was iconic. You can't tell me when we see the Zamboni, we don't automatically think God tier encounter. Especially for day one teams, right? Appreciate you for dropping by, bro. Let me see. Um, like okay, so Val of the Disciples next has to be right, because or was it Vlog D2 after Deep Zone Crypt? I don't remember. D2 Vlog. Okay. Wait, because you saying Zamboni is the same level as Daughters, or are you just comparing them? So let me see. All right. Well, D2 Vogue, right, has to be. I'd say it's because the weapons aren't craftable yet, and with the fact that we have like master raids, um, and we can do like master reprised raids. We have like access to time loss versions of the weapons for Vault of Glass, which honestly I think the time lost is the time lost version of Fatebringer better than the like the OG Fatebringer because you can get Firefly and uh explosive payload on that one from Templar on the Master. Yeah, by a long shot, right? Yeah. So, and it's not even that like I just wanted to bring up Fatebringer. Obviously, we have like corrective measure, right? Vex Mythoclast is back again, and this was like the reintroduction of that weapon. But as for weapons with like use that can stand the test of time, because that's another thing too that I wanted to like kind of bring up. If your weapons can stand the test of time, right? Season after season after season, you're just constantly number one, or at least a top option. Like, yeah, you know you did something right, bro. You know that weapon is awesome. So I'd say like D2 Vogue, with it having kind of like the same story, but it was introduced not in like a dire state for the game, and it didn't really do too much for it. I'd say C tier, but high C tier above Crota because it doesn't have the same impact. Like, yeah, it's a reprised raid. We know the encounters didn't really change much, um, and it's still iconic for sure. But it just didn't change much for the game. Yeah, word. Let's link up soon, bro. I might be on tonight. I don't know. Tomorrow I will be for sure. It's a very low A. Very low A. Hmm. Well, because then I have like I don't know. D2 like the reprise rates aren't really on the same level as like the OGs, or like not the OGs, but like the A tier rates that I have right here. For me at least, I mean, the way I'm feeling about it, it's just like it didn't change much to be like up here at A tier, like past C, because like past C, I'd say is like at B tier is like okay, we're getting to peak, right? This is like where we're talking about like really good encounters. I guess even by that, then I should probably just move Crown of Sorrow to C tier. Because let me think about that, right? It was a short raid. It really didn't. The weapons didn't really resonate with me, and it was the weapons were kind of ass. I'm not gonna lie. The raid exotic was good. The story was good, and the Titan armor was good. But if it wasn't good for all classes, it just doesn't really make sense to count it. Let's say we switch spots with Crown of Sorrow and Vault of Glass. I'd say this is looking a little bit better. Everything changed for you once D2 Vogue dropped. I mean, but how come though? Like, what was it about D2 Vogue that was like better for you? Because I'd say like for me, D2 Vogue didn't really. It was my first time doing Vault of Glass, but just because it's my first time doing a raid doesn't mean it has to be like up there, you know. Yeah, yeah, no, I agree. I mean, like the weapons, especially Fatebringer and Vex, awesome, awesome weapons. And thank God it didn't take me that long to get Vex with the glass. I think I only ran it like 6 times before I could actually get my hands on it. or like 5 times or something like that. I got it within like the first 2 weeks. Oh, Spire and Crown. Yeah, they're still C tier. Let me see. I think I'll keep Crota at high C tier, but I don't know. Spire, I'd say, well, no, because I'd say Spire was more competitive. This is why I have it right here. I forgot about that because it was more competitive than Crown of Sorrow was. Even though I didn't have an exotic, I understand that, but at the same time, it just I just really like the competitive nature of Spire of Stars. It was just that good to me to put it at C tier. As much as that is saying, I guess. I think was Val the Disciple next? Because I was like, I think it was Val, then King's Fall, then Root of Nightmares. No, it might have been Val. Yeah, Val. Okay, so Val the Disciple, awesome raid. I like the lore. We got to see a new species technically at the boss fight in Rolk. Rolk's backstory is awesome. Um, I like how I like how we see like before Rolk was introduced, right? I think like the way that the Hive were thought of in the community, like if you were into the lore, or even if you just kind of like were admiring from afar and you just didn't really you weren't into the lore yet, the way you saw the Hive was kind of like, okay, you have these three pillar gods, two of them we haven't met yet, um, and we've already killed one, so we are stronger than them, but they can get so much stronger, and they're probably like the strongest enemies that we faced, right? But then we meet Rolk, and Rolk just absolutely like stomps. He stomps, bro. Rolk kind of solos, and it's like once you find that out, it's like, man, Savathun's kind of fodder. Ziva Ras kind of fodder. Like the Worm Gods are fodder. We got fucking Zeta, mother of the worms, getting spread wide open under the upended. Like, I mean, I guess if we're going by encounters and mechanics, this one is kind of like the most complicated, I'd say. One of the more complicated raids, especially with like acquisition. I think that's the first encounter. The first encounter was kind of difficult to understand, but um yeah, acquisition and then like exhibition. That's the first and third encounter. Those two encounters are like for the first time if you're doing them, and even for like the I don't know if you haven't ran it in a while, it's pretty difficult to understand a little bit unless you have like a map or something. But for day one teams, it was pretty fucking hard. It was pretty hard. I remember this is like one of the first raids that I took part in day one. Eesh, bro. Didn't even make it past acquisition. We couldn't make it past acquisition. I remember I did this raid. Actually, no, I think Deep Stone Crypto was the first raid that I took part in day one. But I remember this is the other one that I took part in. Um, but yeah, we couldn't. I remember I was streaming at the time and I could not, for the life of me, get past this encounter, man. Literally just like 6 hours of the same thing. But I think Scorn. It was like Scorn and Taken are the two main enemies. I like when raids kind of like have that dual enemy uh typing to them, because like it offers some variety, but at the same time it doesn't keep things stale. It keeps you kind of like switching your loadouts and keeps you on your toes a little bit, because if you have like different champions, and that's another thing too, this had champions in it. um if if you're dealing with like or expecting to deal with like a certain type of champion, say that's like anti-barrier, but you run across like a overload, then you're gonna have to switch your weapons, right? It makes it a little bit harder if you can't use one of the weapons that you were relying on in the first place. So I feel like that's a good thing to can take into consideration when talking about a raid. And Val the Disciple definitely does that with having those champions and dual typings. So if I'm honest, I'd say, oh yeah, and collective obligation. That's that's another one of Cola's favorites. It's a really good weapon, really good exotic actually. Amazing for debuffing. I think it. How does it work again? It's like you can leech void debuffs once you apply them, and then you can reapply them to enemies. So yeah, no, it's a really good exotic to have. If you don't have it, you should definitely go get it. But um, the armor was ass. I don't know why people like it. The armor was ass. I hated that the Vow armor. The Ghost Shell was kind of ugly too, but the Shattered Suns lore book, amazing. Actually, really good. And that whole interaction between Rolk and that lost ghost kind of left me wanting more, bro. I love that. Um, the weapons, like the legendary weapons, at least. What were they? Submission, forbearance. Oof. Um, deliverance. And what else? There was another one. The glaive. The glaive was ass, but everything other than the glaive, really good weapons. Really good weapons. I. It's hard to have a raid where you have really good weapons and armor. Like it's really hard to come across that. Like out of all the raids, I'd say King's Fall has really good looking weapons and armor. Leviathan and Vault of Glass are definitely the ones. Crota D2, which isn't up here. Um, Crota D2 had really good has really good weapons and armor. They both look amazing, except for like the hunter. The hunters got kind of got screwed, as they should. But back to Val the Disciple, I guess. Val the Disciple was like really good. I'd say above Leviathan, above Last Wish, above King's Fall. The boss encounter was really good. Had some difficult mechanics. Good armor. I mean, fuck the armor. Good weapons. And the boss's lore was way more interesting. That's kind of crazy saying that Rolk's lore is better over Oryx, but it's still A tier. Oryx's lore is pretty good. It's still A tier. So Root had good armor and weapons. I'd say because isn't that the next one? I'll get to this one. I'll get to my pins on the root armor and weapons. But now we have like King's Fall D2. King's Fall D2 is an automatic B tier, I'd say. At this point, now that we have both King's Falls in, King's Fall 1 only stays in A tier because of the community narrative, right? The race that was going on and how revolutionary the Taken King was. Season of the Plunder wasn't that revolutionary for Destiny at all. It was just another season with another raid. Just like Season of the Splicer. But on top of that, it wasn't even on theme for the season. Season of the Plunder was a Fallen season. This is a Hive raid. Am I wrong to say that this would have been a right like the right time to bring in D2 version of Wrath of the Machine during season of the Splicer of Fallen. I mean, not Splicer. During season of the Plunder, a Fallen season. Like, is that really wrong to say? They did the whole on theme thing with this year with having a Hive season and having a Hive raid. They did it with Vault of Glass. I don't know why King's Fall was any different. Just a little nitpick, but you know. Yeah, Oryx and Nezarec are both disciples. But yeah, King's Fall. Uh, Touch of Malice actually is better in D2 than it is in D1. They add a little perk rework, and it doesn't kill you now. If you go all the way with the shots, but even though Touch of Malice in D2 is very valuable in the end game, I'd say it's still B tier, but we'll put it above Scourge of the Past. And we'll put Vault of Glass before that. So we have both of the reprise raids in the same tier, close to each other, both mid B. I feel like this is a very comfortable rating. Definitely not cracking A. Definitely not. If they were to, I don't know, bring like the Age of Triumph armor as like the main armor for King's Fall D2, like how they did with Crota's End, then yeah, it probably would have been up there, because at the same time we also have Master King's Fall, and those weapons look amazing. The perks aren't really different, or no, well, not really. I don't think they're really different. And plus, you can craft the weapons in King's Fall D2. So I'd say it's wow. I'm so tempted to put this above Leviathan, man. I'm so tempted to put King's Fall in the place of Leviathan, OG Leviathan. But Leviathan was so good to me. And plus, this is a new setting and enemy. So yeah, actually no, yeah, I'll keep it right there. I was about to do it, bro. I was about to switch. I was about to switch these two. um, but yeah, nothing I already said about King's Fall D1 hasn't can't really be said for D2, other than the fact that the same team that I think got Vault of Glass day one also got King's Fall day one against Salt Greppo. It's like his fourth day one completion. So it's alright. List is looking alright, I'd say. Root of Nightmares, last one that we have on the list visibly. Root of Nightmares, amazing story. We got a new boss that we've never seen before. He kind of looks like a tormentor. Sort of resembles one. I like the aesthetic. I like the aesthetic of Root of Nightmares, right? The lore behind it is pretty good too. We get to know about Nezarec and him being kind of like on the same threat level as Rolk was, right? Said pinnacle of B tier. What, Root? I mean, let me think about this for a second, right? The weapons and armor. If we're going in order, right? The weapons and armor were pretty good. Um, oh, D2 King Swall for you is Pinnacle of B. I mean, like what's the reason for you saying that? The only thing that's stopping me from doing that is Vault of Glass's story, like the story behind it, the community at the time, like the narrative, the community narrative at the time. That was like the first raid. That was the thing that separated Destiny from the rest of the pile of shooters that were there at the time. I'd say okay. Well, Root of Nightmares. Whew, mm. I don't like the way it was like so easy for teams to beat day one, but the loot, weapons and armor, right? The armor, really good. I really liked the armor. It was kind of like it was out there, you know. As far as Destiny armor sets go, it was out there, especially the Warlock's armor set, the chest piece, or the robe for the Warlock, make you have like 6 arms, bro. Like I really liked it. It was a really good look for my Warlock at the time. Probably one of my favorite robes in the game. The helmet wasn't that good for the Warlock though. Helmet for the Titan was pretty good. The armor set for the Titan was really good, but the Hunters kind of got screwed. They just look like a giant ass mosquito. Oh yeah, King Swall did. That's what they changed. They changed the mechanic with the boss room, right? Like with how you do DPS. I think I heard something about that. But yeah, Rooted Nightmares. It's kind of hard to rank this. It's somewhere between A and B. I'll say that, right? Um, you said they completely flipped it. Mm. Definitely not above Last Wish. Ron is a good raid. It's just it was too easy. It was too easy for teams to complete, right? And it was like one of the first raids in D2, or one of the only raids in D2 that I remember being soloed, right? Like there's been a couple of people that have soloed some of the harder encounters that people take a while to get, like LFG teams take a while to get down, right? And that's planets and Nezarek. Damn, that's what they changed. Oh, I guess that's why it was so hard for teams on day one for Oryx. Okay, I see, I see. So I guess it did change something with the encounter, but at the same time, I mean, it's not like it just didn't come at the right time for me to like put it against put it above Volt. It's just like the thing is like if Volt wasn't like as revolutionary as it was for Destiny, and it wasn't as much of a success as it was for the franchise, it just wouldn't, you know, it just would be overtaken by King's Fall right now. It would probably be like at the same level as D2 Vogue, if not lower. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's still above that. But yeah. And Rooted Nightmares. Do you? I think I think this is a good fit for Rooted Nightmares. Some people might argue and put it at B tier. I'm inclined to do so myself, but then I'd probably have to put it at more towards the top of B tier, like right next to OG Vogue, uh, which I might do. I mean, does this even look right? That actually looks better. Yeah, that actually looks a little bit better. Yeah, this one actually looks better. And then Crota D2. Yeah, it was easy. It was. Yeah, like hella completions on that time. But Crota D2, bro. Crota got his get back, bro. That one's like only a couple of teams finished that day one, or a couple hundred, I think. Finished at Crota's end day one. I'd say it was like A tier. Crota's end was above the rest. Probably sits at A tier, even though it's like the same story. And plus, on top of that, it was on brand for the season, just like the original Crota's end was, right? The original Crota's end was Dark Below. That was a hive season. There's a season of the Witch. It's another hive season, so it's kind of like staying on brand. Right under Val. I can agree with that. Let me think about that for a second. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I can agree with that. It wasn't easy. Disu Crota wasn't easy. The rework definitely helped it. Literally. Yeah. 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 No. Okay. Yeah. So I can agree with that. So all right. In conclusion, S tier, Wrath of the Machine, Deep Stone Crypt is high A. Val of the Disciples following that. Then Crota's in D2. D1 King's Falls after that one. Last Wish and OG Leviathan will cap out A. B tier starts out with OG Vogue, goes to Rooted Nightmares, Reprise King's Fall, Reprise Vogue, and Scourge of the Past will cap out B. C starts out with Crota's End D1, Spire of Stars, Crown of Sorrow, and then D tier Garden of Salvation, F tier Eater of Worlds. I feel like that's not bad. That's not a bad list. Like we're taking everything into consideration, including something that like other people don't take into consideration, like the story and lore. Like, yeah, man, this is like some people might like as for like lore might put like this Wrath of the Machine above. I mean, not above, below in B tier or in A tier. But I think yeah, that's that. But yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and call it there. Appreciate you guys for watching. Uh, Probably be back on a live stream pretty soon. I don't know. Probably sometime in between uh, this season 23 and fucking final shape, man. So 7 months, which I'm hoping is a lie, but it's probably not. But yeah, I'll see you guys soon. I have like a video coming out pretty soon. But yeah, I'll see you on the next one. Peace. Thanks for watching.